So we're calling these podcasts Generations of Faith, and we're just having a conversation with those of you who have been Christians a long time about how being a disciple of Jesus has affected and impacted your life. And we just wanted to start with your early growing up years. What are your favorite memories about growing up?
Well, I lived in Wayne, which was outside of Philadelphia. And my parents, we went to Bryn Mawr Presbyterian Church, and that's where I was baptized. However, I really don't remember going there because it was just a little bit of a distance. But we did go to Wayne Presbyterian Church. But my growing up years were wonderful. And then when I was 13, I guess. 12 or 13 when we moved up to a small farm outside of Phoenixville because my father and my brother were horsemen and they wanted to be able to have horses, which was wonderful. I loved it.
Did you like riding horses too?
No,
not really.
No, I didn't have the chance really.
Oh.
Yeah, because we had lived there for a short time when the Second World War came along and my brothers were both drafted, but I continued even when they were in the service. I even helped to milk a cow occasionally, but I loved playing out in the woods, out in the forest, and with my neighbor, a young gal just a year younger than me, over the hill, and so we loved the countryside. We would rush home from school and change our clothes, and we were off into the countryside.
That sounds wonderful.
It was.
That's why you like this beautiful view,
because
it reminds you of the countryside.
It does indeed.
I don't blame you one single bit. So, when you were growing up, you said that your brothers were drafted into World War II. How old were you about that time?
Well, I was. I would have been about 12, 13.
And how old would they have been?
18. 18 or 19, I guess.
And how did that impact your family life?
Well, my father worked in Philadelphia in the insurance business. And I think it was hard on him. It was hard on him. Because then he had to take over, because in the meantime we had these horses, and then we had bought a cow, then we had a couple of cows, and we had chickens, and we even had some geese and some other animals. So it impacted him a lot, trying to keep his business going in Philadelphia and taking care of the farm. And my father died at 53 because of a heart attack.
Very young.
Yeah. So the good times remembering, but then also the downside of it.
Were there any traditions in your family that you were especially memorable?
Well, for vacations, we always went we drove up to Winburn, which was up near Center. It was in Center County. It was out in the middle of nowhere. My great-grandfather and great-great-grandfathers had come over from Scotland, and they had owned coal mines. And so they came over to Pennsylvania and had coal mines up in that area.
Wow.
And they built a nice big house so that all the family could come and visit, and those were wonderful times. Enjoyable, looked forward to them.
So that would be your cousins also came?
Yeah, they had a huge house with, of course, at that time, well, they had one bathroom by the time we went, but up before that they didn't have a bathroom inside.
Oh.
So they trot off to the...
The outhouse, right?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, were you part of the church activities when you were growing up?
Well, let's see, I was baptized in Bryn Mawr Presbyterian Church, but we ended up going to Wayne Presbyterian Church. But in those days, we just went to the services. I don't remember going to Sunday school until we did move to the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And then we belonged to a Presbyterian church in Phoenixville and went to Sunday school and church and some sort of a youth club.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I was involved.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any special memories of anything in particular when you were growing up as far as the church goes?
No, I don't think I really have anything
No.
particular because those were during the war years.
Oh, so
And there wasn't a whole lot of extra things going on.
And we forget that.
Yeah, it made a big difference.
It did, didn't it?
Yeah.
So you were on a farm, so you maybe were one of the more fortunate families, I'm just guessing, because you had what you needed because you had a farm? I'm just guessing.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we had a huge garden.
Mm-hmm.
And my main memory of the garden was I was assigned to water the celery. Celery takes a lot of water.
Oh, really?
I've never been real fond of celery since then.
Funny how things like that impact our perception.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah.
So so then how did you decide where you were going to go to college and what happened after high school?
Well, my brothers were, after they came home from the war, they both went to Penn State on the GI.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they went to Penn State. And I went to Linden Hall. I went to a girls' school, last 2 years of high school in Lidditz. But then I decided, well, Penn State was when I was in high school, Penn State was a roaring, because all the soldiers and
Oh, was it a party time?
Oh, yes. But so then I did go to Penn State, and by that time was starting to settle down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I met Leon.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we went to church. There was a Presbyterian church, and so we went with some friends. We would walk to church. And,
Oh, that's neat.
oh, yeah. Yeah, it was.
Well, congratulations for doing that while you were away from home. A lot of people don't do that.
Well, we both felt committed, and so.
So you and Leon would go to church together?
Mm-hmm.
That is wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we met in our freshman year and were married after we graduated. So, as I said, in Washington Chapel and Memorial Chapel in the Valley Forge. So,
That sounds pretty special.
it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you too about your school. Was that a boarding school in high school that you went to?
Mm-hmm.
And how was that?
Oh, I loved it.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, it was it was a Moravian school.
Uh-huh.
And next to the school, which were a couple buildings, and then next to it was the Moravian church. And we all saved up our change so that when they passed the plate for the gathering,
Mm-hmm.
we just dropped all our change in. They always knew where the girls from Linden Hall were
Because
sitting.
you made your presence known by the
Yeah.
noise,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So that was really
You're a good
that was
witness.
really intentional to have change and not bills,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's a fun story about how you and Leon met.
We met, of course, we were freshmen, and we had lots of limitations. We were not allowed to date, and we had to wear, I think they called them dinks, the little cap. And at the end, that was for a month. At the end of the month, they had what they called the dungaree drag for all the freshmen that we finally we were free from all the restrictions. And so we went to the dungaree drag. A friend of mine, she already knew a fellow who was a freshman, and she was going with him, and she said, why? He has a real good friend. She said, I think you'll like him, and that was Leon. And so that's how I met him. But he had to borrow a pair of dungarees because he never wore dungarees, and the only time he ever had dungarees was when we had a little plot in Upper St. Clair where we could have a garden. That was the only time he ever had dungarees.
So why do you think that he didn't have any jeans?
I don't know. He just didn't like them. I don't know.
I think that's a great story. So then after your dungaree bash, is that what it was called?
Dungaree drag.
Dungaree drag. You were allowed to date after that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I guess they wanted to help the freshmen focus on school and not extracurricular.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Things have changed a lot.
Things have changed. Yeah, you're exactly right. Well, you and Leon, after you got married, after college, you went to Hawaii because he was stationed there?
Yes, he was in the Navy for 2 years. And for 2 months back in 1955 and 57, they drafted men into the Navy. 2 months.
Oh.
And that was it. And he just happened to be drafted. Went to Hawaii. We lived in Waikiki, which was just a little tiny town, and just had a wonderful 2 years. Leon's sister came over and visited, and she and the man who became her husband, they liked it so much that they stayed there.
Oh, wow.
Which was great, because then we went back probably 6 or 7 times over the years.
Is that where Bibi was born?
Yes, Bibi was born in Hawaii.
It sounds like an adventure. Was it?
Oh, was, yeah.
So was church important to you when you were raising your kids?
Oh, yes, yeah. Yeah, we always, I don't know that in Hawaii it was a little difficult. Occasionally we would go to a chapel, which was pretty far away. But then when we came back to Mount Lebanon, Leon had already been a member of our church. But then we settled in Upper St. Clair for a couple of years, and we joined Westminster. And we're very active there. Leon sang in the choir, and I was active in the Women's Association. And in '68, Bibi was old enough to be a congregant to join the church. And we knew that in Mount Lebanon, and by that time we had moved back to Mount Lebanon on Shadow Lawn. And so Bibi and I joined in '68, and I guess Trace too, and Nathaniel. He wasn't old enough. But Leon stayed for another year at Westminster because he we had both been counselors at the Billy Graham crusade, and he ended up teaching that group of kids from the Mount Lebanon church, from the Westminster church, who were seniors, and they needed the counselor to teach them. So he taught.
Oh, he would have been really good at that.
So he stayed and rejoined our church a year later.
Well, tell us about the house on Shadow Lawn, the history behind that.
Well, his parents had it built in 1937, and it was the first house on Shadow Lawn. So it was a nice house. It was in the woods. It is in the woods, which I loved for my country background. And Leon and his father really built they put in paths, and they put in a fountain and a little pond where we had fish, and it was actually on the house tour for,
I'm
while
sure
we
that
were
was
there.
beautiful.
And then as far as the house tour, because after we sold it to Jim and Claire Shookman, Claire continued to make it, building up the yard so that it was on the house tour after that too. So we thought that was very nice. Appreciated the work that we did. So
It is a beautiful location.
oh, it is.
And I can see why the street is called Shadow Lawn, because it is shady
Yeah,
down there.
yeah.
So another thing that I thought was so interesting was because the family had lived there for a long time, there was something written inside one of the closet doors.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was.
Do you have something you wanted to add? Go ahead.
Yeah, Micah 6:8. And what does the Lord require of you? Question mark. To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Yeah, I had that in the little broom closet in the kitchen.
Not quite sure who put it there, but...
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I thought maybe it was Leon's parents who put it there.
No.
Okay, it was yours.
Yeah.
That's pretty special.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I remember you told me about when you had your children, that you were raising your children, that you continued a tradition that Leon's parents had done, which was saying the 103rd Psalm before as grace.
Yeah, but that was my family.
Oh, that was your family.
My family.
Okay.
My roots are Scottish.
Okay.
And that was my family's. Yeah, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Although when we were all together, we would say the whole 2 verses, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Then bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. But when we were during the week, we cut it short.
Cut it short.
Yeah.
I just think that's such a wonderful tradition. It's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and
Yes.
we still say it
You still say it
when the whole family.
when you're all together. Do you think your children's raised their families with? Did they continue that tradition? Do you know?
Well, I know that they know it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I'm not there.
You're not there to know what
But
they say.
I know they know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what kind of memories do you remember when your children were growing up in Mount Lebanon Church? Any fun memories of?
You mean at church?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, they were active. They were always, in Bible school, or the Bible school in the summertime, and they were always
The youth clubs.
youth clubs, very active in youth clubs.
They had a
In
lot of
fact,
really good friends.
a couple weeks ago, I found a program, and I think it was from 1985, in which they had put on a play, and Trace, our older son, did some of the hardware getting ready for the staging for it, because that was his line. And then Nathaniel was actually in the production.
He was in the section.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of fun. So I sent that off to, especially to Nathaniel.
Because I know I've met your children, I can see how your faith and Leon's faith really impacted their faith. From my viewpoint, I think all 3 of your children have very strong faith.
Yes, they do. Because Nathaniel is youth, works for Youth for Christ.
He's a minister.
Yeah, and he just got finished with a 3-month. He and Kendra got finished a 3-month sabbatical.
I hope they're rejuvenated.
Oh well, they did seminars, went to various things, and so they really appreciated it. So now they're back in full-time ministry, which means even snowboarding with kids in the mountains and going to the ocean, and surfboards and all kinds of things to reach these kids, which they do.
It's really wonderful. It takes special people to do that kind of ministry too.
Oh yeah. Yes, heavens, when I think of Nathaniel, I could never picture him in an office. It wouldn't work.
He seems very well suited to.
Yes.
He's got a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Oh. So what was church like when you were growing up compared to what it's like now? What do you think?
Well, as I said, I really didn't go to Sunday school very much. I remember going, and when I was really little, I must have been 3 or 4, and we had a program where the kids got up on the stage, and I was very bashful, and of course we had dresses that were very full. I can remember pulling the back of my dress up over my head.
No, you just wanted to hide.
Yeah. But I think that maybe, as I look back on it, I think I learned lots of things in Sunday school, which became part of my life. And I'm just thankful that my parents were Christians and that they realized the importance of a good Christian background. So that's something that we tried to instill in our kids. And
I know that you used to work for the church.
oh, I did.
For how many years?
18.
18 years.
Yeah.
And what roles did you have?
Well, I got the job because Nathaniel was going into junior high, and I thought I could finally get out and do something. And they needed somebody to pass out the cookies, to go up during the week, pass out the cookies to the Sunday school rooms. So I thought, I can do that. So I did, and just a couple of weeks after I started, they said, okay, can you do this? And pretty soon it was a full-time job. And I loved it, working with Larry and Bob Marvella and the various pastors. It was a wonderful experience. In fact, I can remember we had, we called it coffee on Wednesday mornings, and we would go in and somebody would always bring donuts. And good heavens, who came after Bernie Johnson. He still had his suit on, and after we were finished, you looked at his suit and it was all powdered sugar down the front of it. Oh gosh, we teased him relentlessly on that, but it was just a wonderful opportunity. The staff was smaller then, and so we got together, and it was just a good time to meet and to discuss things and just to have a good time.
Yeah.
It was very, very good.
So the staff was smaller. That's interesting. I thought the staff would have been bigger.
Well,
Really?
when you think of some of the extra people we have now, but the configuration of things has changed a lot. But oh yes, those were wonderful, wonderful years. I felt like I was one of the luckiest persons.
Oh,
to be
that's so
able to
neat.
be
Well, they are
there.
fortunate to have you too.
Well, thank you.
Yes, yeah. So, were there certain people in the church that were instrumental in your life? We've already talked about your parents. They were instrumental. Anybody else that you think was particularly instrumental in developing your faith?
Of course, I worked for Larry Seelig, and that was a definitely big influence on my life and even Leon's life. And he started the Stephen Ministry, and I went to training for Stephen Ministry. That was for 2 weeks in St. Louis, and then his wife Ida and I were in charge of Stephen Ministry for quite a few years. And but just working with Larry was just fantastic. I mean, he is still just a wonderful person, and just thankful that his health is kind of holding together, because it's been a little bit fragile. But I keep in touch with both of them.
They're very special people.
Oh yeah.
I can see how you and Leon would have gotten along really well with both of them.
Yeah.
And then you went on a trip with Larry, didn't you?
Yeah, we went to the Holy Land, and that was great opportunity to see how people live in other countries where guns are always present.
Really?
I can remember getting off the plane, going into the airport, and there were soldiers with their guns, resting in their arms, and that was a real eye-opener.
Be kind of scary.
It was, yeah. But, oh my goodness, that was a wonderful, wonderful trip. And Larry was an excellent guide, and we just saw everything. Even took a trip across the desert to go on the way to Egypt, which was fun, interesting, because the guide on the bus was Egyptian. And at that point, Egypt had not won the war. Okay, so we were going across the desert. We would see all these abandoned trucks and whatnot. And he said, oh, well, we Egyptians just, sort of blew them off the earth. Well, it was just the opposite.
Oh.
So that was interesting. But
Did you feel safe on the truck with this Egyptian guide?
well, no, they were driving, I think, 90 miles an hour. No, we were not. We really didn't feel safe. We were very thankful when we got to Egypt. But so that was a great experience, too.
And you told me once one thing that you brought back. So the members of your group, you brought back
the manger scene. Oh yeah.
Made of olive wood.
Yes.
And that you each took a piece to bring back in your suitcase.
Yeah, we each had a piece in each of our suitcases, and that's why I have got it all back safe and sound.
It's that creche that we've been putting on the communion table at Christmas. It was good that we found it again, and
thank goodness
it was restored.
Restored, yeah, because it was lost. God, and then we were just thrilled when they found it, and I can't imagine why they put it where they did.
Yeah, it wasn't.
No wonder
it wasn't. Yeah, but fortunately, somebody knew how to restore it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure it's very valuable.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah. You bet. Yeah, it's been insured.
Well, do you have a favorite Bible verse? I know we talked about Psalm 103, but is there any other that's like a life verse for you?
Oh yeah. Let's see. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. And I have some others too that I have them written down in the front of my various Bibles. And look at them periodically, but do read my devotions every night before I go to bed, out of several different venues. So very thankful to be back in our church, because I missed a couple years because of Zoom or COVID. Yeah, and but I joined. I watched Zoom.
Yeah, you watched online.
Thankful for Zoom. So, but glad to be back in person.
And I'm glad you are too.
Love Mustard Seed Mondays.
Oh, it's great to have you.
Great.
So, during your life, have you seen, how has your faith been important to you?
Well, I guess I've been a churchgoer. I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I have been involved with Sunday school and church, and I think I'd hesitate to say that I took it for granted, but I think it was just a part of me. And I guess when we were at Westminster, and I was quite involved with, I was starting to get involved with the Women's Association, and they had a dinner, and golly, was the man, he was the pastor downtown at First Press. He was the speaker, and I can remember he talked about, making a commitment to Christ, and I thought, really, I've been a Christian, but I've never actually thought about that I should make an actual commitment. And so I did, and I think that from then on I even saw things in deeper ways. And, when I get awake in the morning, I pray before I get out of bed, and I look at my watch, and I think, ooh, okay, I really have to sort of get going here. Because I pray for quite a while. And I can't imagine missing praying, because I know that it leads, he leads me every day. But, and I have more health issues than I used to, and various things have happened, reasons why I can't do this because I have to do that. But I have to trust God. Okay, it's all in His timing, and it's going to work out. So that's about it. Got to just stay plugged in.
Is there anything else that you think would be interesting for people to know about your faith journey, or anything else that you want to highlight?
Oh my goodness, sort of. I think I've hit most of the things, but I'm some of the wonderful memories I have is when our Sunday school, the Helpmates class, when we would go on our retreats to First Church Camp, and I think of how our kids were brought in, and we had so many wonderful relationships. In fact, Ruthie Buchanan is still here over in memory care, and she was a brilliant person, she and John. And, when I think of those people and the relationships we had, it was really very enriching and gave us all a camaraderie that without a faith, I don't think you can have that kind of a relationship with other people. So I think of, various people that mean a lot here, and some of them are here. In fact, Helen and Jim Akers moved in last week.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So, do you remember? Did you ever know Helen Akers? She was John Powell and Bernie Johnson's secretary.
She would sit where Heather is.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. Neat gal. No, I would say I'm just thankful for my church and for the support that we've had from our church. Thankful that I'm part of Lord's family, and I know He's taking care of me.
Well, your faith is really evident to those of us who know you and are around you. There's a strength, I think, that comes through.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Because these last couple years have not been easy for you.
No, it has been challenging. But, yeah.
Are there other ways that your faith has impacted your life that maybe we haven't covered? Any other ways?
No, I don't think so, because I think I've sort of spread everything out pretty well.
I know,
So,
we've talked about a lot. Do you have a
yeah.
question?
Yeah, just I have two. One, thinking back, what were some areas that you served in the church over the different years, and if you have any memories from those?
Oh, well, I used to, in the summertime, I always taught Bible school at, what do you call it, the summertime?
Vacation Bible School.
Vacation Bible School.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Leon taught. Actually, Leon was one of the, helped to found, I think it was called the Scott Road Interchange. And that was young adults. He helped to establish, and he taught that for a number of years. And also he was in the choir. And I do not have a singing voice. I was not in the choir. No way. But, and I always, I taught in the summertime. I really didn't teach. I was involved in the Women's Association. Did lots of things there.
And you said you were a Stephen minister.
I was a Stephen minister and taught the Stephen ministry class. Yeah.
You were like a coordinator then. You're like a Stephen ministry coordinator.
Yeah, right. Ida Seelig and I were the, under Larry, then she and I were next level.
And then you were an assistant, a pastoral, like an administrative assistant for 18 years.
Loved it.
I'm sure they loved you too.
It was wonderful. Yeah.
Is there anything else on your notes that we left out?
Probably not. The print is small. I can't read it, so. No, really, I think I really pretty well covered.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
This has been really.
You.
This has been really
Thank
wonderful.
you. Well, it's kind of fun because I started thinking about things and I think, oh, I forgot all about that, and so this is kind of great for just helping to
good.
put things together again.
Good.
Because when you get older and you get so darn forgetful,
Yeah.
you have to reach a little bit deeper to pull it out.
Was there any advice you would give to anybody who's maybe struggling with their faith, or just any kind of tips on how to stay strong in faith?
Well, I just think it's, you've got to keep, if something comes up during the day, you've got to have the memory and the desire just to say, Lord, help me through this. There's a reason why this is not going the way it's going, but help me to see what it is and how to correct it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the beauty of our faith is, that you can be constantly in touch with the Lord. Like he's always like a little bird sitting on your shoulder.
Always with you.
Yeah. Because, as you get older, your priorities change of necessity. And things happen that you don't necessarily wish they would happen, but such as it is. And you have to have the faith to, okay, I'm going to keep going, and I need to know what I need to know to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you also told us earlier about the practices that you have. You read scripture in the morning and you pray in the morning, so you take time. You're very intentional about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thanks. This has been a blessing.
Mm.
Thanks,
Well,
Bea.
thank you. I'm delighted that you asked me.
Thank you.